Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Not a problem, Kevin, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, dude, this is a long time coming. I've always enjoyed talking with you. I think we always have really cool, deep philosophical discussions. So I look forward to another one of those.
We'll see how good I do today.
Well, so one thing that I actually wanted to ask you about was kind of like your transformation that you've gone through recently, because I remember some like a conversation we had, and I don't want to go into the details of it if you don't want me to air it on the podcast. But you talked to me. This was probably several months ago about a realization you had about your perceived level of niceness, or that like you felt I'm not as nice as I thought I was. And I feel like that sounds like a really deep, profound revelation that I'd like to know a little more context on, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did not know that that's where you were going with this.
I'm sorry, I got to get into it, man.
No,
it sounded like it was a big life moment for you, so I think that could be powerful for people.
Yeah. I don't remember when that was that I had that realization, but it is a realization that I have. And in fact, it keeps coming back because I have historically been the type of person who's a nice guy. And what I mean by that is I put on a persona or an outward facing self that says, hey, I'm a nice guy, I'll take care of you and all this stuff. But in actuality, what was going on behind the scenes, behind the mask, is resentment and judgment, or straight up, I'm lying to somebody to their face because in actuality, I don't want to help them out. I don't have the time to put myself out there and all that. Or I don't speak up for myself, right? And so the realization was that me being a quote-unquote nice guy was actually the most asshole-ish thing that I could do, because I wasn't being honest. I wasn't being honest with myself, and I wasn't being honest with those people that I was a nice guy to. Now, on the surface, one could say, or I could say, well, actually, I was a nice guy. I wasn't an asshole. But if I just stop and look at it objectively, what am I actually doing when I'm being nice to somebody when I don't actually want to be, or when I don't speak up for myself? Is this person then comes to know me as this particular persona, and if I don't live up to that persona, I've what do you call it? I've messed myself up.
Mm-hmm.
I've basically built myself up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
Expectations will not be met. And I don't remember telling you that, but do you remember when that was?
Yeah, it was in a text exchange where we were catching up, and
I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about. I think we were talking about like I think I was trying to talk to you about getting started on a podcast and talk to you about selling the microphone and everything.
November, I suppose.
Yes,
yeah.
It was sometime last year. It wasn't too many months ago, but it was several months ago.
Yeah,
and at the time, I was about to leave my job, but I hadn't fully gotten there. And you even actually talked to me about the 9-to-5 thing, which I would love for you to expand on that too. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because to me, that seemed like a very big realization of the mask that you perceived to be wearing and the perception that you wanted to put out into the world, and thus creating not only expectations for other people, but expectations for yourself that you knew that you weren't even being true to, and were inevitably going to lead to disappointment on both ends of the spectrum.
It causes more stress than is needed. It also puts me in a position to where I'm avoiding conflict, which isn't healthy.
It's not. You let it build up.
You let it build up. It's the law of little things. It's just one more little nugget, another little nugget, another nugget, and the whole time people are literally pushing further and further past my boundaries that I have for myself. But because I'm afraid of hurting their feelings, or because I'm afraid of looking bad in their eyes, I'm discounting my personal wants and needs and desires. And so that realization that I'm not as nice as I think was a liberating realization that, holy crap, why am I treating myself? I'm treating myself like an asshole. Meanwhile, I'm bowing over and letting somebody fuck me in the ass, even though they're not technically fucking me over. They're just going after what they want, right? Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I get from that, and what I've gotten from that realization, was that, one, being an asshole is fine, and it doesn't mean I'm going to go out and go and murder somebody, right?
There's a difference between asshole and murderer, yes.
Right. But that's the thing. It's like I had this conflation that an asshole is an evil person. An asshole is someone I don't want to be around. When in actuality, what I thought an asshole was someone who just knows themselves and knows what their boundaries are and knows what they want and what they don't want.
And draws a line.
Well,
I mean, I think there's a difference between that kind of asshole. I don't even know if asshole is the right word. But then there are people who literally are just like, they might not even know themselves, but they also still take what they want, or at least what they perceive to want. And that might not be their true wants or desires, but it is their superficial ones. And then they're stomped by any means necessary. I don't think that's...
I mean, there's psychopaths and sociopaths.
But that's not the kind of asshole you're talking about here. That's what I want to clarify, is that, like, you're not talking about, like, yeah, go ahead, be an asshole and, like, don't respect people. That's not what you're saying.
That's not at all what I'm saying.
That's not at all what you're saying. I just want to clarify it, because it's going to come across... I'm not sure.
That's not at all what I'm saying. That should be the title of my book. I'm an asshole, but I'm really not. No, I'm still a nice guy. I still love people. I still see people for humanity, for the humanity that's within them. It's about me. It's about how I've treated myself in the years. It's how I've been the asshole in my own life, if that makes any sense. That's what I mean by I've been an asshole, because I would never let anybody do to me what I've done to myself, right? The way I talk to myself, the way I say yes to things that I don't actually want to do, which I think is why the conversation came up, because you were interested in selling me your equipment, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll think about it and all this stuff, because I didn't want to hurt you're my friend, and I don't want to hurt your feelings. And so instead of me being honest
and just saying
what I felt, and maybe having a discussion that could have put me in a place to where I could have purchased, I didn't give you the benefit of the doubt that you can handle it. Yeah. That's one asshole move. 2, I negate my own intuition. It's the second asshole move. And then 3, I put both of us in a position to where down the road, I'm circulating money with resentment. And that does nothing but cause problems in the world. I know it sounds minute, but at the end of the day...
No, it's the larger picture of the story you're telling. Yeah, because it's like, this is a specific scenario, but this is telling a larger picture of what you've been dealing with and the different ways that you've been not friendly to yourself. I've been learning very similar lessons myself, actually, in these last few months, especially since getting separation from my old job, because there's a lot of concessions that I would make with the old job, time-wise and energy and where I was putting it, that it just wasn't allowing me to spend the time the way that I wanted to. And then I would always feel selfish when I would take what little time I had and do it the way that I wanted to. And I felt like I was always giving up something, but then I wasn't saying anything, and so I was just holding resentment.
Exactly.
So I had the exact same problem, and I was going through the exact same things. I'm in a much better place now where I do what I want, but I also have to respect, people in my life that I also share my time with. Significant others, you got to respect their time too. So I've made it very clear, with my girlfriend, I've made it clear with her, like, hey, listen, sometimes I need to do this. I need to do this podcast. I need to edit. Sometimes I don't want to be on my phone. It's nothing personal to you. I just need to do this thing. But then I make sure that I still make time for her, and that, hey, when we're together, I'm together with you, and I'm not paying attention to my phone. I'm in the room with you, and we just have to balance that equation. And in the same way, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to not always be worried about my time. You need to be worried about your time too. And don't worry, we'll find time in the middle that coincides and that crosses over, and then we'll fully be present with one another, which is better than me resenting, feeling like, fuck, I wanted to edit the podcast today, and now I'm hanging out with you, and then I would take it out on her, and I would be like mad about it. And it was like, it's not her fault. She just wanted to hang out with me, and she didn't understand the internal struggle that I was going through.
Exactly.
And I think that that's so important, because when you respect yourself and you put your foot down on the things that you really need to put your foot down on, sometimes it can be an uncomfortable conversation in that moment. But the long-term solution of that is getting to an understanding that is more sustainable and is less likely to keep holding on and to keep just chipping away at your soul until eventually there's nothing left to chip away at.
I'm thinking of marriages that end, and a lot of times you can just hear all the just resentment and all the nastiness come out. And if you ask the person who's doing all the complaining, it's like, were you being honest with yourself during this relationship? Were you asking for what you wanted, or were you compromising the whole time? And if they're being honest, that's what the answer is going to be. I can almost guarantee it, because people only go for what they know, right? And if you've been saying yes to something that you actually aren't a yes to, and you completely suppress it and just keep pushing it down and pushing it down and pushing it down, it will eventually explode like Mentos in a Coke can, or in a Coke can.
Yeah. And
the reason why is we are not built to lie to ourselves. That's just I can't imagine that that's what the truth. The truth is we're supposed to be expansive. The truth is that we're supposed to be honest. The truth is we are supposed to be ourselves and express the light that's within ourselves. And anytime you put some sort of block, self-imposed block on yourself, it feels good in the short term. It's just like you're just saying, I mean, essentially repeating what you said, but in the long term, it's going to cause volatility. I mean, you can see that play out in, society. You can see that play out in family dynamics. You see that play out at work, in work relationships. And I think identifying that you're an asshole, for me, identifying that I was an asshole was huge. I mean, one of the ways I discovered that was I'm doing a self-development course right now through the Wright Foundation, and it's about emotional intelligence, emotional and social intelligence, and I'm loving it. It's hard work. It's not easy. It's weekly assignments that are really, really small assignments, but if you're really going in on it,
they get to the core.
It gets to the core of it, right? Truly discovering that something is hurting you, or something is angering you, or something's causing you to feel sad, or fear, or joy, and recognizing those things, then opens up your limiting beliefs about yourself and about others or other things. And then I've come to also know that it brings up your yearnings. What are you actually yearning for? Your deeper yearnings. And one of the yearnings that I've come to understand about myself is that I actually have a huge yearning to be understood. and to matter. And I find that I don't meet those yearnings a lot of times because I have a lot of limiting beliefs. And one of my beliefs is that I don't belong. Like, people don't want me around, which is fascinating because it doesn't actually play out in reality.
No, it doesn't.
But in my mind, the only reason why people want me around is it's for some random moment of just like, oh, they just see me as like this guy that they can get good knowledge out of, but they don't actually want me around, right? So
that's a cynical view.
Exactly.
It's a very cynical
I'm
view.
an asshole.
Well, only to yourself, man.
Exactly.